In today's video, I'm going to try to explain as simplistically as possible why low carb or keto is so effective at treating metabolic diseases and also obesity. Hey, how's it going, my friends? It's Dennis, your health coach over here at Low Carb Nation. As we all know, a lot of the modern chronic illnesses like type 2 diabetes, hypertension, it all stems from something called insulin resistance. Insulin is not necessarily a bad thing, but when there's too much of it in your body, then it becomes something negative. Think of it as, for example, in antibiotic resistance. So the body becomes resistant to a type of antibiotic and you require more and more of it, and to the point where it becomes no longer effective. Or another analogy is you are at a noisy environment. Let's say, for example, at an airport. So there's a lot of chatter, there's a lot of things going on around you, but over time, your brain kind of normalizes the sound and it no longer feels noisy to you. So that's what happens in your body when there's too much of insulin. So insulin, it does many jobs. One of the things is to make sure that it opens your cells so that glucose can go into your cell. So when insulin resistance happens, the body has too much insulin and it no longer becomes effective. Now, I'm not going to go too much into this, but insulin, the hormone insulin, is the primary fat storing hormone in our body. When insulin is present in the body, fat burning stops, period. So in a body that is insulin resistant, the body is unable to make use of stored fats in your body for energy. So your body holds on to your fat tissues. Take, for example, meat in your refrigerator. Meat that is stored in the chiller is easily accessible. You can take it out and only in a few minutes you can thaw out the meat and cook it. Whereas meats that are stored in your freezer you are unable to use it immediately. It takes a long time to defrost and also to wait and then eventually to cook. So think of it as when a body is very, very insulin resistant, all your fat stores are essentially locked in the freezer. So we've already established that too much insulin in the body is bad, but what triggers insulin? For this, we need to look into how the three main macronutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, trigger insulin in the body. As you can see, carbohydrates trigger insulin a lot. So whenever you eat things like rice, noodles, and pasta, you're gonna spike insulin to quite a high degree. And then after that, you look at proteins. Proteins trigger insulin to a moderate degree. So it's not as aggressive as carbohydrates. Whereas, surprisingly, if you look at dietary fats, it hardly triggers insulin at all. So remember, the goal is to make sure that insulin stays low. So that's the reason why a low carb diet is also high in fats, because a high fat diet doesn't trigger insulin. So when you're in a low carb ketogenic way of eating, your insulin is always low. It's always in baseline. So when your insulin is low, alternatively, other fat-burning hormones are high. For example, one of them is glucagon. So when these hormones are released, it triggers your body to release stored fats instead. So the body really is not that stupid. So when you cut off its main source of fuel, which is previously carbohydrates, it's going to go searching for alternative fuel sources. And that is, first, burning through the dietary fats that you eat, and eventually the stored fats on your body. So when you switch to a low-carb ketogenic way of eating, your body is going to enter a state of ketosis or mild ketosis in as early as a week or two. So at that point, your body is able to tap into its own body fats for fuel. So you see, eating fats simply doesn't make us fat. That's like saying when you eat too much broccoli, it's going to turn you green. So the mechanism inside our body is not that simple. However, eating a lot of refined carbohydrates especially, and also sugar, will trigger fat storage. So how this happens is by a process called de novo lipogenesis, which essentially means to create new fats. So the way this happens is when you have excess sugar, excess carbohydrates in your body, the liver turns that into fats and sends it to your adipose tissues, which is all over your body. Unfortunately, our body has unlimited stores for fats. That is a very simplistic model as to the mechanism behind how a low-carb ketogenic way of eating is super effective at reversing not just chronic illnesses, but also helping you burn fats naturally. So we hope that this video has been helpful in explaining the mechanism, helping you understand very briefly and simplistically why a low-carb ketogenic way of eating is very natural and very effective at getting you to your optimal health. If there's any other topics you'd like us to cover in future videos, make sure to leave them in the comments section down below. Stay happy, stay healthy. We'll see you guys in the next one.